Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon, and I'm a lifetime Seminole fan.
And I am Chris, and I am a vengeful Gator fan.
We are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. Today we'll recap a Florida State narrow win. The Gators win comfortably at home, and then whip around the state of Florida to see how the other teams fared. And Chris, it certainly was an eventful weekend, especially for us since we got to attend one of these games. But, you know, it was a very good exclamation point at the end of week one is the way I felt about it.
Yeah, you finally get to learn a little bit more about your team, other teams around the country, and your conference. You kind of start to see how maybe games down the road on your schedule is going to play out. So it was nice to have a full week or two of just, hey, this is who people start to look like and what kind of teams that you should see the rest of the season.
Yes, and you certainly start to see some true colors, and there were a ton of overtime games, including Florida State's around the country. And this is the time of year that those type of matchups tend to get a little more narrow. So we certainly had some interesting games in Florida. Not all of them so close, but well, let's go ahead and dive in. I know they want to gloat about your Gator victory, so I'll let you have at it. How'd they do against the UT Martin?
Yeah, Skyhawks is who they are.
Uh-huh.
And I'm vengeful not because of this game, but because of our opponent coming up, which we'll get into later. But yeah, Gators get a win in the swamp, get the shutout, 45-0 against UT Martin. And the big story out of this game was, I think, the injuries. We have Kadarius Toney go down and C.J. Henderson go down. Now, initially, they thought it would be like months for them both, but now after the press conference, coach was like, yes, I think one of them's going to be out. Henderson's going to be out, is doubtful for this game. Kadarius is out a couple of weeks. So that's a little bit more optimistic. But it was a little scary at first. But anyways, as far as the game itself, if you look back at Miami game, things that hurt us big time were the turnovers, tackling. But we worked on those things, and we were great. We didn't have any turnovers this game. The tackling was much better, and the penalties were reduced big time. So I think that's definitely something you can look at as positives for us. Other positives, Franks was very efficient. 25 for 27 for 270 yards, 2 TDs, and 0 interceptions. Very cute, very huge. I think he started off the game completing like 15 or 15, something like that. The first half, he was perfect. So that's something that, you have the good Franks, bad Franks, good Franks showed up. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he was there. But it was real nice because of, injuries, especially to our secondary, hurt us last year. So we had some freshman DBs that got in the game early. And so sometimes when stars get injured in games like this, is he in too late? Well, really, it wasn't the case because Toney and Henderson went down early in the game. But it was nice to see the DBs get in, rotate in early. It's an interesting take because most of the time in these games where you're severely overmatched, you have like your third quarter, then like second and third team all come in. Well, this game we had guys sprinkle in, like freshmen sprinkle in throughout the game and rotate in, so they would get some reps with the ones in a real game. So I really like seeing that, especially in the defense, because we are pretty thin, especially in safety position due to injuries and suspensions. So it was really good to see them get in the game. Seeing Frank spread it around was nice. Guys like Jacob Copeland, he's a redshirt freshman, come in, and he produced pretty well, and they think that if someone's going to fill in that Kadarius Toney role, it's going to be him. He's a guy that kind of has the speed. He doesn't have like the quote-unquote wiggle as Kadarius Toney does, but he's got some speed. They got him in on a jet sweep for like 10 or so yards. He got a touchdown catch. So it was nice to see that they spread the ball around the running backs all got touches. Trask got in. Emory Jones got in. So it was nice as far as this is what you wanted, getting the younger guys some experience. That happened. As far as opportunities, we started off kind of slow. Went to halftime 17-0. You would like to have been like 20-30 by half. But we figured it out the rest of the way. I forgot to mention a positive. We shut them out. That was really good. Really hard to do to shut out an opponent. So I'll take it. I want to say 2016 was our last shutout. But it's hard to do. No matter who you're playing, it's hard to shut someone out. So we did that. One thing that does concern me, though, that I noticed that we contained them for the most part, and we got sacks and we got pressure. But I noticed that the two things that really hurt us were the running back on a wheel route, or like when the running back comes out of the backfield, our linebackers were just a step behind them. And some of their biggest plays came from the running back slipping out the back. So we have to work on that and maybe get a nickel or a safety on the running back, whatever. But or just have better linebacker play out in the flat there. And then we didn't contain the quarterback as much as I'd like. And he got some pretty big long runs there. But not too much as far as X's and O's that we didn't really miss on. You know, like it was a pretty solid game from start to finish for us, which I like to see.
Sure. And I think you undersold Franks' accuracy. Minimum 20 pass attempts. He's the most accurate in Gator history. So, to further that point. And then, so I guess two questions for you, Chris. Did you really see what you wanted out of this game? And given the injuries, how do you prepare going forward?
I did see, because like I said, I wanted to see if the big issues we had with Miami, can we at least make some progress, or at least not make the same mistakes again, and we did that. The tackling was much better. The penalties were much better. We didn't turn the ball over. We forced one turnover. We got a pick from our freshman corner. He came in, Elam. So yes, I'm very happy to see what I saw on the field. As far as those injuries, like I said, Copeland, you'd think would be the guy to come in, but really, we are so many receivers that if some guy did go down, a receiver position's okay, because we have Swain can do some stuff. Cleveland, he looks like he's trimmed down. He looks like he's a little bit faster.
Right.
Van Jefferson, deep ball. Grimes stepped up big time. Hammond, like there's so many options. So I'm not too worried about Darius. Henderson's the one that worries me a lot, because last year Marco Wilson went down against Kentucky. They picked on his replacement. I think it was Henderson went down during the Georgia game. They picked on his replacement. You know, we're real thin in the secondary as it is, so it was really good to see guys like Jaden Hill get in at corner, Elam get in at corner, Kimbrough get in at corner, and get some significant minutes. And really, Jaden Hill, the freshman, ran down their quarterback, touchdown-saving tackle. The next play, our other freshman corner, Elam, picks it off in the end zone. So that makes me feel a little bit better in the secondary. But that's what scares me, though. That's what really scares me is because we're already thin back there. As far as any other opportunities, no, that was it. Nothing really jumps out and concerned me other than our linebackers at times in coverage. But other than that, no.
Okay. Also, most important question, can you draw a Skyhawk?
Can I draw a Skyhawk? Yes. Imagine a hawk, but he has those little, not the aviator glasses, but those pilot goggles on top of the hawk's forehead. He's about to put him down. I
had to look it up. Skyhawk is apparently some type of airplane or aircraft. But I like your image better.
Okay. I was just looking at their logo.
Yeah.
That's what their logo is. It's a Skyhawk with those goggles on.
Oh, okay. There you go. But
well, for the longest time, I thought we were playing the UT Martin Seahawks because I couldn't read. But I realized, oh, it's Skyhawk. Okay.
Yeah. I think I agree with most of that. I think the wide receiver core, just like you said, stepped up, and there shouldn't be too much gap on the wide receiver and or in the secondary. And we'll get to predictions later, but I can't imagine they have too much trouble facing with Kentucky. And I think Florida seems to be firing back on all cylinders again after a few missteps against Miami and a week off.
Well, we took that helps. As long as you're going in the right direction. That's what I really wanted to see, and we were in the right direction, so I'm happy.
All right, cool. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, I'll take it. It was nice, and like I said, tough to get a shutout. I'm glad we did, and I think we did pretty well this time.
Yeah. So Gators win comfortably at home. Florida State also wins comfortably at home. A very nice, cushy 1-point win in overtime. Never any worry about this game, and they were very much in control of it. Of course, I'm being very sarcastic because they weren't.
And the fans are, and the fans are all happy and content.
Happy. They stayed to the very end. No one left. It was
right. Yeah.
I'm going to get to the positive because I am a pretty positive type of guy, but as you can imagine, that list these days seems to be a little bit shorter than it used to be. What I pray does not get lost out of this ULM win is Cam Akers' performance, which was dominant and the best of his career. He had 193 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime. He also caught 5 passes for 55 yards and a TD in the fourth quarter. He was constantly in the secondary. He was catching passes, and he weaved his way through the entire defense to score late in the game. There was a lot to be loved. ACC Running Back of the Week, and I thought this would be an award A.J. Dillon would take every week for the rest of the year. But Akers proved he deserved it. So I'm very glad to see that good Akers showed up. But on top of that, other good things from the offense is, we constantly keep feeding our young wide receivers, Trayshawn Harrison being one of the biggest ones, and he could be a big star. So happy to see that. Constantly improved on special teams. We had a fantastic 167 yards of returns and, of course, the blocked PAT to win the game. So there's a lot to be loved by those hidden yardages that we were just getting killed with last year. The decision to make a fair catch and just take it at 25, or there was one play where DJ Matthews, aside from his offensive touchdown, just constantly returns punts in a way that you're like, okay, yeah, he could go all the way, but he's also just going to take a 25-yard return to help out the team, and it has made a huge difference. So there are a lot of things. There wasn't a whole lot I was impressed with on defense. We did stop the Warhawks of Louisiana Monroe, slightly different mascot. Although they got to a first and goal situation, we stopped them, kept them out of the end zone. We did have a forced fumble by Nasruddin. He seems to be a ball hawk. Do you see the theme today?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Although this was Cam Akers' game, we did get Kylan LeBourne did get a carry or two, and so we show that he has a decent backup to give Cam Akers a breather. And other positives is that we did end up winning the game, and we consistently spread the ball out on offense. But there was a whole lot to be wanted for when this game ended. Florida State preseason probably, you figure they're probably, if you ranked them in the 30s, 40s, maybe 50s. Louisiana Monroe was ranked in the hundreds. That's how much worse of a team the Warhawks were. And so you have no business playing this tight with a school like this. Probably the bottom rung of the Sun Belt.
Right.
A team you paid over $1 million to come to your stadium. So many things that went wrong. Blackman threw 2 interceptions, neither one of which made sense. One of them was to a defensive lineman. You just didn't see him drop back. There were times on the defense I'm like, it's 3rd and 3, and we're going to blitz an outside linebacker, but that leaves the middle field wide open for a 10-yard pass. Pass interference on Myers. He also got beat deep, which led to a ULM touchdown. We were doing really well. Obviously, this has been the pattern against Boise State too in the first half. But in the third quarter, we're up 24-7, and Blackman had some kind of miscommunication with Tamarian Terry. Throws a pick 6, and the game was never the same after that. We turned it over again. Gavin, a guy that I just keep championing fumbles a turnover away, and I can't defend this guy anymore. There's so many other key players, and this is his senior year, and this was it. And we have an unsportsmanlike penalty in the fourth, and we allow 26 first downs, 419 yards. I mean, I think we've allowed over 1,000 yards in 2 games. Not to mention 11 penalties. So, we didn't earn this victory. They certainly gave it to us, and this was a very big. This will impact the season one of 2 ways. This will either tell the team they have a reason to fight and they can win tight games, or more likely we can see that there are a lot of things that aren't getting fixed, and there's a lot of concerns with the squad, mostly on defense, and it may be a struggle to get to a bowl again.
Yeah, now you have to really start looking at your schedule and trying to be realistic. Now that you can be realistic, now that you kind of see who you are a little bit. And, I think the hardest part, and you and I were talking a little bit on Saturday, was I don't think it's the fact that you were struggling with a lesser opponent, 'cause I think that's happening more and more across the nation, although it shouldn't. There's no excuse for it, really.
Right.
But it's the way that you are doing it, with blowing another halftime lead like that, and then letting them stick around. It was no excuse. But what was it, like 24-7 at halftime?
Yes.
Right? I think so. And the game should be over. It's just like the week before. The game should be over. And the fact that it's the same old story is not good. It's not good. And so do you think that they are playing down to their competition, or do you think it's at halftime they're just getting out-coached, or is it something just bigger where it's like Taggart has to go bigger?
I think so far this season, the offense is still very motivated, and more importantly, I'm not sure what word I was looking for there. They can actually run the ball, so they can run themselves out of trouble. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, they can run themselves out of trouble, and that was something that the team could not do last year. So you're forced to throw. I mean, believe it or not, Florida State was like second or third in the conference in passing yards, but because we were always down and couldn't run the ball. And this year, that's not going to need to be the case, at least as of yet. We did have an offensive lineman leave the game with an injury, and I'm not sure if his status. I have to check. So any injury on that line is very scary because that unit's very thin. But on offense, I'm just really not that worried, except for their third quarter performances. I know we've talked about the Gators last year. The third quarter was kind of the make or break, and they just haven't figured it out. Now, in the fourth quarter this time, they just start scoring again, so that's a good sign. But, we started the second half with 2 consecutive 3-and-outs, and one of the things that I always loved about Fisher's style was he would score on a possession right before half, get the ball back, you score on the next possession coming out of half. So, I don't know, we called it a halftime sandwich. You would score, and that's if you assume 10 points, 14 if you're really good, then that's a huge swing in the game right there in the middle. And they have not figured that out. I would like to see a better game plan, so this is where the coaching comes in. If you come out of half saying, okay, these are the next 8 plays we're running, and if it doesn't work, then we've got a plan and we know how to address it going forward. So that's the offensive side. On the defense, these guys don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. They're clueless out there. Our linebackers are running around. They can't recover fumbles. They're getting beat deep, pass interferences, unsportsmanlike conducts. The strength of it you would think would be like the interior defensive line, like the Marvin Wilsons of the world, and he's getting 2 or 3 pressures a game, but not nearly as many as we would have thought. Najeldine seems to be the high spot so far. He's the guy that's finding where the ball is and forcing fumbles and making tackles. It's not the talent on the field, so it has to be the coaching.
Yeah, that stinks because the coaches are going to be there for, like you and I were talking, like they're going to be there for a little bit, at least for this year and next year, their contract, unless they get bought out, which is unlikely. Yeah, it seems like that the offense is several strides ahead of the defense, and now it's dragging them down. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and if your weakest link is real weak, then you're real weak,
Right.
and it's showing.
Yep.
If the defense could ever catch up to the offense, I think that they'd be all right, but it's just not looking like it.
Sure. And I mean, going in, I think I alluded to this in the preseason preview that we had. We thought we'd see some 3-4, and it's just been a disaster. There's no other way to describe it. So I think once you get past Virginia, and then you get into the meat of like the division opponents, you can already see them start to transitioning back to like a 4-3, which is, you're trying to cover up weakness on that D line. You have 3 really good defensive linemen, but not 4. And so I think they were afraid to do that. But at this point, you just have to try everything you can. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need to try that, and you need to get in some different personnel. It's pretty bleak right now. Not gonna lie.
I will say this though, like it's still a win, and now if you are, and let's just be honest, if you were really in contention for a playoff spot, then this would be an awful win because the margin of victory and who you play really matters. But if you're just looking to get a bowl, hey, this counts. It's just the same.
You're right.
And I think you start looking at just getting a bowl, and that's going to count. They're not going to go, well, you got 6 wins, but one of them was overtime, ULM, so we're not going to let you play in the bowl. No, they're going to say, oh, you got to win, so this is bowl game.
Well, not for the Florida States of the world. If you were like ULM on the other side of that, they would probably tell you, because that's actually something that I was laughing about, because they actually won 6 games last year and didn't get a bowl. So, because their schedule is just garbage. But yeah, you're right. At WCW, got to be happy about that, because you avoided a loss, and heck, we could have lost to Stanford last year, and then you come this close to losing to Louisiana Monroe. I think that's the bigger trigger for Noel fans, is that it's a sign of a bigger symptom.
Well, I'd say if you're going to lose it, like if you lose a game because of poor tackling, and then the next game you lose again because of poor tackling, that is super frustrating, because you saw right there in the first game that's the issue and it didn't get fixed. It's the same thing. You have a big lead and then you blow it. You are hanging around with Samford, and now you're hanging around with ULM. Like, something's not working. It's the same stuff over and over again, and that's got to be super frustrating.
Yeah, but I think that encapsulates there was a lot of good on the offensive side, except for the turnovers in the third quarter play. Akers came out, but the opportunity is just a lot of these are easy fixes. Don't create a penalty. Don't have catch interference on a punt. If the ball's on the ground, just fall on it. These are very coachable opportunities, and if we just clean up 5 or 6 of those, not even half. I'm not even asking for 100% turnover, just 50%. That's probably a 1 possession swing right there. So anyway, I'll take the win. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna stop yelling.
Good. That's right. Like we said many times before, we'll say many times again, this is nice therapy for us some weeks. So
definitely. All right. So that'll wrap up the Noles victory. Chris, let us know how the Miami Hurricanes did against their visit to North Carolina.
Yeah, man, they went up to North Carolina, and they lose within the last minute of the game, 28-25. They give up a touchdown pass at the very end there. They start off the game down 17-3 by the end of the first quarter, and UNC just jumped all over them. But Miami settled down. They tied it up at halftime, and it was back and forth to the very end there. Could not pull it out. I knew that North Carolina was going to give them everything, but I didn't. And I thought Miami would be the one that would win by 3, not lose by 3. So I'm a little surprised there. But there are some positives. Williams went for over 300 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Dallas went over 100 yards. So the offense is there, but the defense is just lacking a little bit. And the penalties, 7 penalties, again, that are just killing them. you got to start scratching your head going, okay, we're seeing some bright spots. Can we put this together and actually make a whole game of this?
Right. Yep. I think to me the biggest thing that stuck out was Williams going for 300, but you're right about the flow of the game. Down 17-3 early. Miami had some miscues. They fumbled in the red zone. The special teams is what lost it. They missed a field goal. They later had a PAT blocked. They missed a 2-point conversion, and then they missed their last field goal that would tie the game. So to me, that's the reason why they weren't victorious. But the biggest thing, other than that, was they allowed a 4th and 17 on UNC's final drive. So that's against their defense. I'm very shocked.
Yep.
And on the offensive side, I did notice that Osborne and Jordan came up big a few times, and they were able to move the ball and have good time of possession. But it does end up with another loss for the Canes.
Yeah, and Baxa, who was pretty reliable last year, and this one, a key one against Florida and a key one here against North Carolina. So the things that you see this little shift that they're really good at, solid kicker and your great defense. Now it's shifted where not so solid kicker. Your defense let him down, but the offense is stepping up. But they just can't get all three to line up,
Oh, I know. I'm a Florida State fan.
I'm sorry. But definitely a tough loss for them. They're definitely looking to bounce back, and starting off a conference game like that, a heartbreaker, that's a tough one.
Yes, indeed. But I think that Miami's on the cusp, and they're having some similar issues to some other teams around the state. Yeah. So
yeah.
We'll see. UNC actually may be a bowl team. I have a little slide bet going with somebody on how good the Tar Heels will be this year, and I'm probably going to be wrong. I think preseason I had like 4 wins for them, and they've already got halfway there, so I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I know. They're looking pretty good. They're definitely Mac is back, man. Mac is back.
Yep. All right, so that'll wrap up the Hurricanes, and let's go over to Boca Raton. What do you say, Chris? Where the Knights of UCF travel down to play the Florida Atlantic Owls. A game that we were lucky enough to go to. So we'll talk about the atmosphere later.
Right.
Let's kind of break down the game itself. Brandon Wimbush does not start this game, does not play it down. Dylan Gabriel probably should be the starting quarterback. But you also have Darryl Mack just being cleared from injury, so his ankle injury is pretty much behind him. Dylan did have a low percentage of pass completions. That was the thing that surprised me the most. He was only 7 of 19. But all of the plays he did complete were long plays, including 3 touchdowns. So the intermediate stuff, and then just the tendency to always throw the ball deep, you're going to start to see that kind of stuff kind of go down. But if he starts to take the intermediate throws, give what the defense is allowing, and then throw to his wide receivers more, that percentage should start to creep up. But right now it doesn't matter. When you have Otis Anderson, Adrian Killian, and Greg McCray out of the backfield, they're dangerous. They're lethal. And when you can each get 80 yards and a touchdown from all 3 of those guys, you're not going to really need to throw it very much. So,
right. He was smart. He just put the ball into his playmakers' hands and let them do the work.
Yes, and UCF does have some speed, as we saw quite a bit of. And a couple thoughts on the FAU side. Harrison Bryant, the tight end, continues to be a big target. And they did try to run the ball a little bit more than they did against Ohio State. So McCammon does get 18 rush attempts and does score their only touchdown. But FAU clearly outmatched in this contest.
Yeah, the only success that FAU had was running up the middle, but that wasn't consistent enough. And Robinson was scrambling for his life most of the game. The UCF did a really good job of putting pressure on him and not letting him escape, and in coverage as well too. It was real tough outing for them. The game was over real quick.
Right.
I mean, the first 2 drives, UCF goes down and scores, and the game was pretty much over and decided by then. It was that run by, or the catch and run by Killings. I watched it again. That was a nice design where he came out of the backfield.
Yeah.
There's 2 running backs, and the linebacker picked one running back, which was the wrong running back. Killings was wide open. And then he made a nice play towards the end of the end zone there. but you could just tell that they were just overmatched and too much athleticism on UCF's side for FAU.
Yeah, and we expected this. You and I both said it was crazy that UCF was only favored by like 10 or 12, and 48-14 final. And that's actually because they didn't even play the last 4 minutes. Not sure anyone would have scored, but lightning caused the game to end a little bit early. And everyone, including the band, is like, okay, we're just going to head out, because even if they decide to resume this game in 45 minutes, no one's going to care what actually happens.
I'm pretty sure that UCF didn't even have to come back, and they just let FAU play for the last 4 minutes and still win.
Didn't even score against the turf. That's awesome.
So it was that bad.
Yeah, I did want to take a couple minutes to talk about the actual game experience since we got to go. So my perspective, FAU was not prepared for this kind of crowd, and their stadium somehow still wasn't even sold out. The UCF fans showed up in droves, and the university did not expect this, which, hey, you know how many tickets you sold, divide that number by 2 or 3, and that's how many cars you're going to have. But anyway, we actually drove around campus for over an hour. They kept constantly redirecting traffic, and it took us just over an hour to actually find a spot and get parked. The logistics were terrible, not enough trash cans. There were not enough security people, not enough gates open, not enough staff. It still took a long time to get through security. What did we get through? It was probably halfway through the first quarter. We were even in our seats, Chris. Sound about right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, they'd already scored 2 times. UCF did before we got seated.
Yeah.
And it was pretty bad. It looked very disorganized, and there's just no reason why it took us that long to get inside the stadium. It's just, it was nuts. They were, like you said, they were just unprepared for this game. It was the biggest game that they maybe have ever had there.
Yeah.
A highly ranked team within your state. Like, you gotta step up your game as far as preparations, and from concessions to security to tickets. Everything was just understaffed, or they didn't start early enough. I don't know, but it was a madhouse trying to get in. So many people. Right.
And so, I mean, a couple of thoughts I had, to further your point, you're exactly right. This would have been the biggest game they ever would have had. I was like, because you had asked me during the game, I was like, unless they would have drawn like a really good team from a bowl, then this will be probably the biggest game they'll ever have hosted. Plus, you couple that with the fact that they sold beer at the stadium, and that just makes for unruly fans. And I know more stadiums are trying to try that, but the lines were crazy for the concessions. All the water fountains ran out. I mean, there was just mass chaos. Say, from my perspective, they were not winning in paradise. That apparently is their motto.
They did have a section. Oh, okay. They did have a section that was like, I don't know, in between some of the stadiums. It was just like sand and some palm trees and some lounge chairs, which I didn't thought that was kind of cool. That was a little slice of paradise. It was a real nice touch to it. But other than that, I'm like, this place is just too small for this amount of people.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. The little slice of paradise there was nice. And you and I both were impressed with the press box. I think that was probably the biggest feature of the stadium.
Yeah. It looked like it was unfinished, though. Like, the press box was nice. When you look around, everything else on top of the stadium is just empty. You're like, man, it'd be nice if there was more seats here, or another press box over here or something, like another scoreboard would be nice too.
Right.
You can see the potential there, but it's not. But the press box was top notch.
Yep. Very good. And also, we were doing the math. They're only like 1.8 miles from the beach, and so that's kind of they kind of play that theme up.
Yeah, which is nice. If you're selling to a kid who is thinking about maybe going there, that's a nice selling point there. Sure. Hey, by the way, beach is right there.
Exactly. But the game went as expected. The Knights roll. Any final thoughts, though, on the game itself or the experience?
No, it was. I'm glad I got to see it. I wish it was a little bit more competitive, just right. The fan in me. But that's kind of what we thought how it's going to play out.
And then I will say one final thought. As a UCF ticket holder this year, I did get a letter from the university apologizing for the experience, because they at least know what happened and they're working to correct it, they've said. So
Oh, okay, wow. I didn't know they did that. I didn't think they would care after they got your money.
Well, I was impressed, and it is a partnership between the two schools after all. So at least they know,
Yeah, sure.
and hopefully prepare next time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So do you want to go with FIU, or should I cover the South Florida Bulls next? Up to you.
Yeah, we'll go FIU. They lose a game to Western Kentucky at home, 20-14, and the offense just wasn't going there. They actually one of their touchdowns was a pick six, which was pretty impressive. A one-handed pick six, which it took about 80 yards to the house. But the story of the game was at the very end. FIU is, at the 2-yard line, first and goal or second goal, and the quarterback fumbles it, and which goes back like 16 yards or something like that. He gets hurt, then James Morgan comes back in, couldn't complete a pass on third and fourth down, and they lose the game. It was a wild finish, unfortunate finish, but they lose at home to Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm very shocked at this one. And even before Morgan's injury to the ankle, he was 3 for 11, so he wasn't even contributing before he had to go back in late. But they did try to run the ball to kind of compensate for that, and they did it decently, but just not enough. And special teams, pretty good job controlling field position, but when it mattered, 0 for 2 on fourth downs, and as you mentioned, the stand at the end, they needed a score to win, they didn't get it.
Yeah, you gotta punch it in somehow. It's just a series of unfortunate events. From you're so close, then you get sacked, fumble it, then your quarterback goes down, and then very unfortunate for the Panthers there.
Yep. So we were both wrong on that pick. That's I'm very, very shocked. Very shocked they that was the game I really thought they would have in hand, but
right, yeah. I thought they were going to bounce back for sure, but they didn't.
Gators are 2-0. UCF is 2-0. You have Florida Atlantic 0-2. You have Miami 0-2. You have Florida International 0-2, and also ding 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 over in Tampa, the USF Bulls are 0-2 because they lost to Georgia Tech on the road. This was just an ugly low-scoring game.
Yep.
Probably the play everyone's going to point to in this one is that with about 10 minutes left, the Bulls do finally muster up field position, and they go into the goal line, and Cronkite apparently scores a touchdown. Uh-oh, whoops, no you didn't. He actually was losing possession of the ball and fumbled it before crossing the goal line. Georgia Tech recovers, and, well, let's just say that the entire game the Bulls only mustered about 250 yards of offense, so that was pretty much the nail in the coffin. Not that Cronkite was contributing. Up to that point, he still had negative rushing yards, I believe. So this was just ugly. The Bulls lost 14-10 at Georgia Tech. Blake Barnett was actually taken out of the game for a little bit, and McLeod came in, and he's actually the quarterback through a TD. And they even tried one of their running backs at quarterback out of the Wildcat formation. To quote Charlie Strong, they quote-unquote needed a spark, and he's not wrong. But it's still not enough of a spark. They only got 11 first downs, and they extend their losing streak to 8 games as of Saturday.
Man, yeah, ugly is the word to describe this game. I mean, Georgia Tech, when they got that early lead there, they looked like they were rolling, and I had to do something else. I didn't watch the middle part of the game. I turned back in. I was surprised to see this score. It's almost the same score. Right. And yeah, that's one of those things where you really you hate it because you're trying. It's an effort play. You're diving to get into the end zone there, but it's very unfortunate that he fumbled it. And like you said, that was pretty much their one and only shot at winning was there. That's that fumble there. I feel real bad for Charlie. He's a nice guy, but he is just slowly losing control of the Bulls. He really is.
Yes, it's unfortunate because, midpoint of last season, you could have said, oh man, he's 11-2, he starts off 7-0, he's won 19 of his last 21 games, and now this looks like a completely different program. They're inept on offense. They can't I mean, they did a decent job stopping Georgia Tech, but it's not a good team. Clearly, neither one of these programs is going to win more than 4 games this year. So it is really sad to see. And I thought this would have been a really good fit. I even thought that Kansas might have hired away Charlie Strong last year, but it's not looking like anyone would want to hire him at this point.
It reminded me of a game. It was, I want to say it like 2005, 2006-ish. I was watching like LSU and Auburn play, and it was like 3-2 or something like that.
I remember that game. Score. Yeah, 3-2.
And I fell asleep watching that game because it was boring. I woke up. It was still 3-2, like in the third quarter. I fell asleep right after the first quarter. It was late third quarter. It was still like 3-2. I had missed absolutely nothing. It's so weird. You look at the score like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It's still the same thing?
Because it was 14-3 at half, Georgia Tech, and then I looked later. It was like, it's 14-10 South Florida. It was the fourth quarter. What?
Right.
I missed 1 touchdown. That's it. But at least the Bulls do score a touchdown. Their first one of the season. So they're averaging 5 points a game now.
Good job, Kerwin.
Yeah.
All
right. Any last thoughts on any of these games before we move on to next week preview?
No. We're good. We can go forward to at least for the Gators in conference play.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about it. I know that the Gators have the Kentucky Wildcats on tap.
Right, and I said at the beginning I'm a vengeful Gators because we're actually seeking revenge for the first time in 30-plus years for Kentucky. And I'm not talking about basketball because they finally broke the streak and beat us last year. You know, I play this game every time that the Florida-Kentucky game plays. You always say, like, the last time Florida lost to Kentucky, so-and-so was this. Well, the last time that Florida beat Kentucky, you know who the president was? Donald Trump. The last time Florida beat Kentucky, you know what the best picture was? A little film called Moonlight. The last time that Florida beat Kentucky, there was the top songs in the billboards was "The Shape of You" by some artist named Ed Sheeran. So the Gators are chomping at the bit to get some revenge against Kentucky. They've been waiting too long. We want to end this streak, and they want to get another victory against Kentucky.
Chris, that was awesome. I was not expecting that at all. Well done.
Every time that Florida Kentucky plays, they would show a highlight reel or a montage of things that were going on back in the 80s. So I wonder if they do that this year. I hope if anyone's listening, please make a mock montage like I just did. That's a chance at humor there. Easy, simple humor there.
Awesome. Well, given the Kentucky quarterback injury and then a couple of guys dinged up for the Gators, are you still going to take Florida to win this one, or are you not so sure?
I am. I was real worried against when Henderson went down, and because of the passing ability, but they don't have Snell again, and now that Wilson's out, I'm feeling a lot more confident than I was before, and Kentucky really is just not taking a little bit of step back before this injury to Wilson. So now I just don't think that they can really hang for 4 quarters with us. And we're going in the right direction. I still am worried. You know, our secondary is young and thin, and we are going to miss Henderson big time. But we have David Reese, who I'm pretty sure he didn't come in. Yeah, he wasn't in the Kentucky game last year. He came at Tennessee the week after. So we'll have him up the middle, which I really like. Zuniga and those guys are really firing all cylinders. So I think our defense can hold him to a lower score. And Franks, again, he just needs to be good Franks. He doesn't have to throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, but 250, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, that's all I want from him. You know, get P. Ryan 70-plus yards and a touchdown. That's all you need. I think they're going to come out, you know, confident, and they're gonna it's SEC play, so they're going to be excited. But I don't know if they can hang for 4 quarters with us.
All right. I think I'm going to stick with that pick. I know Florida's going to have some losses this year, but it's not going to come on the road in Lexington. I feel like Florida does take care of business. Yeah, I'm not going to play up the whole revenge factor thing. Obviously, it's going to be on their minds, and guys aren't going to forget it. But with the way that Franks already has kind of that mentality already, that's going to be every game. So this one's really no different.
Yeah, and it was funny. Mullen was like, they were asking him, "Is it how big was that loss last year? Is there revenge?" He's like, "Nah, it's no big deal. It's we're just focusing on," and that's his coach speak stuff,
Right.
But then the players were interviewed. They're like, "Oh no, it was a big loss. It was really big for us, and we really want to get." So it's just real funny how he just shrugged it off like it's no big deal. The players are like, "No, it is a big deal." But I like it. You're right. Franks is a guy that when he plays emotionally, he plays better, and so I hope he feeds into that.
Yep. All right, so we're both in agreement. The Gators should win on the road this weekend to start conference play. All right, so Florida State is also going to be on the road, traveling to Virginia, and I actually feel more confident in my pick that Virginia is going to win this game now, obviously, but probably for different reasons than to start the year. I knew that we would struggle with some of their defensive schemes, and so don't expect the offense to score as many points as it has. I would really think we will probably get in the high 20s, maybe low 30s, but it's not going to be easy, and if we turn it over twice against ULM, actually 3 times, then we're certainly going to turn it over a couple times against Virginia. Not that the atmosphere is imposing or that the defense is so overwhelming, but it's just that it's still new to us. This is the first road game early in the year. Virginia has improved a lot. Bronco Mendenhall is doing some good things up there in Charlottesville. So it's still a pretty easy pick. Some things that Florida State does need to keep in mind is that, you know how to score in the fourth quarter now, so make sure you're going to, hate to say save some offense for later in the game, but don't use it all in the first half. And you got to change up your schemes on defense. You have to start selling out. I don't care if you're going to put 7 guys on the line. Try something different, because it's not going to be any worse than what you're already getting. But I say Virginia by 10.
Yeah, I think it's a safe assessment. I had Virginia winning. I believe I did. I think I had Virginia winning beginning of the year, mainly because I was high in Virginia, but now definitely having them winning because I'm low on Florida State. And I mean, you make a good point. Might as well switch it up on defense, because if you're gonna lose, maybe lose a different way.
Right.
If you're gonna go out swinging, at least give it a shot. So that's a good idea. Mix it up somehow. Switch up your blitzes, switch up your whole team.
Yep.
Because whatever you're doing is obviously not working.
Yep. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see a way the Noles win this one.
Yeah. I have Virginia. 10's good. I would say 10-7, 17.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yep. So moving on to something more entertaining, more happy. Probably the biggest game to me in the state is the UCF Knights host the Stanford Cardinal.
Big
Stanford
game.
Comes all the way to Orlando, and this is a game that looks very different. Before the season began, you really would have thought Stanford would contend in the Pac-12 North. It would be a three-team race. Stanford, Washington, Oregon, and that looks very different now. Stanford and Washington both lost, and so is Oregon. So I mean, all 3 of these teams are already not quite as good as you thought they would be. And Stanford's quarterback, I should say, Costello, still not sure if he's going to be cleared from concussion protocol to play, so that maybe Stanford's backup that starts this game as well. But Stanford did look good in the first half against USC, but struggled late and never scored in the third or fourth quarter. So a lot of question marks there. Stanford's a very different team without Bryce Love. They actually do throw the ball instead of running it a ton. You probably won't see a lot more of what they call the 22 package, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs with Stanford like they used to do. The old goal line setting they've kind of moved away from that, which is I don't know. I was a fan of that. I kind of like that formation back in the day when they had like Toby Gerhart's and running backs like that.
Right.
So not quite as fun to watch, but they have some skill players, and this will certainly be UCF's toughest opponent unless some of the other American teams step up. So I've actually switched my pick on this, Chris. Up until last week, I would have said Stanford's going to win this game, but now I am taking the Knights.
Man, why do you gotta do that? I was gonna flip to the Knights. You make good points. Stanford, with the question at their quarterback and the way they finished or didn't finish against USC, and just seeing the Knights and their role, especially with their offense at home, I think the Knights are gonna win.
All right. All right, very good. I mean, it's not a crazy pick here. The Knights have not lost a regular season game in, over 2 seasons. So, there's certainly some things to be said, and they've beaten some decent teams along the way. So,
right.
All the best. All right.
Yeah, if it was a neutral site game or at Stanford, I still would stick with Stanford, but that home field advantage is going to help them.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
In agreement so far. All right. What about Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah. They host Bethune-Cookman, and they're going to get their first win of the season. They've been on the cusp a couple times, but they'll break through. I don't think it should be too much of an issue this week.
No, yeah, they'll take care of business, and this is an easy D2 win, and they're not going to blow them out or anything crazy. They still got some things to clean up on the offensive line, but after the third quarter, Miami should run away with it.
Yeah. Agree. All right, then we have FAU. They go to Ball State, and I'm going Ball State on this one, because looks like Florida Atlantic is taking big steps back. Now I know it was UCF and Ohio State, so I'm taking that into consideration, but I don't really see any too many bright spots. And you look at Ball State's quarterback; he has over 700 yards passing already, so it's going to hurt them. And I'm going to go Ball State in this one.
Okay, that's fun. That's definitely a fun pick. I actually am going to take FAU in an upset here because I just don't think there's a way they go 0-3 to start the year. I just don't see it. They will find a way somehow. They will get maybe McCammon is their running back the rest of the season. Maybe Harrison Bryant catches 6 or 8 passes. It's clear the quarterback play isn't quite what it was last year, at least at this point. But like you said, very tough opponents, and once they get into settle into their better schedule, I think it's favorable. I'll take the Owls in this one.
Okay. I'm gonna go hoot.
No, I would never do that. I heard enough at the game. I'm good.
Yeah, you're just gonna take the Owls. Okay, I hear you.
Yes. But moving on to another part of the state, I'll talk really quickly about the South Florida Bulls. They do play South Carolina State, and much like the Hurricanes, they will also get their first win of the season. As bad as USF has played, South Carolina State is much worse. And, we've seen a lot of upsets this year, so it wouldn't be crazy, right, for somebody to pick South Carolina State to win this game, all right? It wouldn't. It would not be crazy, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take South Florida.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot more of the quote-unquote underdogs winning, but you got to go with the Bulls too, especially the way that they adjusted the second half of the last game. They're going to get the win.
Okay. I was hoping you'd say South Carolina State, but couldn't do it.
Tempted, but nah. Tempted. Continuing the theme of teams finally getting their first win, FIU hosts New Hampshire.
Yeah.
They're going to get their first win. So, hopefully Morgan and the guys can get it going, and they should be all right.
Yep. So, the only one we differ on, I'm going to take FAU on the road to, to upset Ball State. I think no, FAU is actually favored. I was just double-checking the numbers here. FAU's favored by 2.5.
Okay.
So you're taking the upset then.
I know, right?
Yeah. There is actually no spread line on the South Florida or FIU games. That's how Vegas is confident. That's how confident they are. It's just not going to.
Yeah,
whatever. They have an over-under, but no spread. UCF favored by 7. Florida favored by 8.5. Virginia favored by 7.5. So, looks like we're pretty much in alignment there.
Okay.
Let me say it this way. It looks like they're pretty much in alignment with us.
Yes, thank you. We're the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, definitely a good week. It really will be nice to see some of these programs get their first win because there's not a whole lot of good news around the state right now. Gators and Knights are it. I don't even feel like you can consider Florida State's game a win. I will, but it's almost like a loss. And I was looking back at some other years that Florida State struggled. In 2009, we nearly lost to Jacksonville State at home. I think it was 2006. Mm-hmm. We almost lost to Troy at home. This is back before they were in the Sun Belt. And then you talk about Stanford, a D2 school, also like Jacksonville State, nearly upsetting us. We didn't win it by 10. Just like Jacksonville State, we ended up winning by 13 on some funky last play of the game. But we were trailing 9-7 in the Jacksonville State game with 2 minutes to go. And the Stanford game, we took our first lead with 4 minutes left. With Louisiana Monroe, we had a big lead, we let it melt away, and then it looked like I would not have been surprised if Louisiana Monroe came out and went for 2 to win the game in the first overtime. And
you said you thought that was happening.
Well, I was like looking at the replay. I was like, is it blocked? Missed? Did they go for 2 and not get it? I'm not sure what happened. I was like, I just take the win right now. I'll look at the details later. But then I actually confirmed that they actually missed. And so, honestly, this is probably the third or fourth worst win in program history, in the last 50 years. It really would be.
The worst win. Okay. I never thought of it that way. It's pretty funny. Wait, it's a win, though.
It's a win, nonetheless. Gotta remember that. Gotta remind myself. And let's hope in a month we forget about this game altogether. We probably will. Now, after we lose to Virginia, everybody's going to start talking again, but then the wins will start coming. So that's my encouragement to Knoll fans is just wait about 3 weeks, and we'll start to see the team, and we'll start to gain momentum. So it's going to be tough this Saturday, but keep the faith.
Look the big picture.
Exactly.
Look down the road, guys.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on the games coming up for week 2, Chris?
No, I mean the only thing is as a Gator fan, I'm excited for conference play. So let's do it.
Awesome. I said week 2, I meant week 3, but well, our fans and our community want to give us some feedback, I'm sure, on their takes of the game. So how can they reach out to us to do that? Yeah,
hit us up at floridafocuspodcast.com. Many different avenues there, and let us know how you think the season's going to play out. For our teams, and you think if Florida State's going to right the ship, or if it's a bigger problem and it's going down, if USF's going to make a bowl, if Charlie Strong, let us know what game is he getting fired at. I think it's happening. So just or if you just want to give us a shout out or anything, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Along with that, a reminder to all of our listeners. We are having a random drawing for a giveaway later this year. All season long, what we want you to do is to send in an audio form, please, and probably keep it till maybe 3 or 4 minutes if you could. Your favorite all-time in-game experience memory. We want to hear from everybody. Some people, like I said previously, they define their fandom by maybe one single moment, one single play, one single victory. So we would love to hear that from you. What was your previous game experience? This was kind of inspired by an episode we had with Lynn, who was an FSU season ticket holder, and we talked a lot about the memories we had and going to games. So we'd like to hear yours as well. So you're going to take the time to do it. We're going to make sure to reward you for that. So I'm going to have a drawing at the end of the season for a very big prize. For anybody who enters, a submission will be entered in that drawing.
It'll be a good one. And he has not told me what it is, but I'm still guessing a fridge.
It's a good one. And
my guess.
See, by the end of the year, it's going to be a really good Christmas present you won't have to buy for somebody else. So think of it that way. I'll take care of your one gift for
two.
you. Two for one.
Okay, it's a fridge and a freezer.
No!
Okay, gotcha. See what he's doing there, listeners? He's tipping us off. It's a fridge and a freezer. Christmas is a cold time of year. Freezers are cold. Okay, we'll connect the dots together. We're on to you, Brandon.
We'll see. All right. Well, thank you in advance for all of that. Everybody have fun enjoying the game. Stay safe. Any final thoughts before we sign off for the day, Chris?
Nope, that is it, man.
All right. Well, this is Brandon saying, go Noles, even now.
Go Gators.